Good morning. Welcome to this CAPE session. And this time we will focus on some very specific use cases. Here at the screen, you can see a YouTube video. I will share the link in the description here later. You can also search for Bart Meerschart ESCO on YouTube. And you can see here this short 6-minute video describes a use case where we have smaller boxes with different sizes and weights. Those will then be packed up in a shipper and distributed in a larger box. And then this larger box goes onto a pallet. So this is one use case that's not very straightforward in CAPE. So we'll have a look and see how we can accomplish that. Also a variant, and we'll start with that, is a use case where we have one or multiple boxes that need to go into a shipper. And instead of using a pallet, we simply want to use a larger brown box, corrugated shipper, bin, crate, whatever you want to call it. But we're essentially using this right here as our shipper, and we are not palletizing. So how can you do that in CAPE? Let's have a look at that. So let's switch over to CAPE. And by the way, the attendees have been muted. We will unmute after 30 minutes for questions and answers. Okay. So right here, we're in CAPE. This is version 18.1. Just be advised, version 20 recently came out, so you can go ahead and update that. And I am running the advanced flavor. So again, on our website, you can see the 3 different flavors. We have the reviewer edition, the essentials, and the advanced. So notice down here, the advanced differs from the essentials in that it allows you to do case arrange and folding carton arrange, as well as case design and product design by varying weight, volume, and size, and kind of reverse engineering your primary. So keep in mind, I'm using this advanced option right here. And what we're going to do is we're going to exactly use that arrange design group, part of the advanced. Let me see, actually, we're going to use the palette group. So standard, the essential flavor will do for that. Let's go into the display palette, and we can pick here from either a single pallet or an order fulfillment. So single pallet is, as it says, one pallet, or in our case, one bin. And order fulfillment is you have X amount of primaries that need to go to one or multiple stores, and we need to pack that up in one or multiple shippers. So we'll talk about both. Let's start with the single scenario. The software loads a example into the main program. Let's for this example, let's get rid of this tray here. And let's assume for a minute we have these 3 items here. We have a box, we have a case, and we have another standard box. So 3 different boxes. Each of them with different length, width, and height, as you can see here, and different weights. Notice the quantity allowed right here, desired minimum 1, absolute maximum 25. Very important, obviously. So we're going to increase that a little bit. So we're going to say that we need at least a dozen of this box, and I'm not allowing more than 50 in my bin, in my, yeah, let's call it a bin for now, right? So second one, let's do the exact same thing. So I need at least 12, but not more than 50. And the last one, same thing. So a very important option as well in here is this little checkbox that you see here. And this checkbox indicates the height of this primary and the way it will be packed up in that shipper. So what I'm saying here is that the height, which is 10 inches right here, will be placed in that bin, just the way you see it here in this picture. Now, depending on the actual product that's inside this box, you might want to only activate the height, right? This side up, fragile items, stuff like that. But if you have an item that can be rotated, so the box can rotate inside the bin, I would really recommend to activate all three of these checkboxes. So what is that going to do? It's essentially going to allow the software to be able to turn that box any which way it wants inside that bin, inside that shipper. So you can imagine that by doing that, I'm giving the software more freedom to place and to optimize these primaries in that shipper. So for this exercise, we're going to assume that there's no fragile objects in there, and I'm going to give my software the biggest possible algorithm freedom, so to speak, to fit that in my bin. Okay, step number 2, my shipper. Now, in this case, you can see here we have pallets, but that's not what we want. We want a large crate, a wooden crate, or a cardboard box. And so if I start looking through this list right here, these are all pallets. So how do we change this pallet to a bin? Well, the secret is right here in the Make a New Shape. And right here, we have the ability to create a bin, a box, a crate, and the way these differ is small details. Let's start with a bin. And for our second exercise, we'll make a box and then a crate. So as you go in here and you say, hey, I'm going to make a new bin, and let's say my bin is going to be 45 by 45 inches. Right, it's my a large corrugated bin, for example. You put a description there. You specify length, width, and height. So it's essentially a cube. The corrugated box itself weighs 12 pounds. And here we can see the first parameter that sets a bin aside from a box, from a regular brown box shipper. So this one has legs, all right? So let's say we have a 2x2 that we want to put underneath. So to keep it away from the floor, you know, to protect it from, you know, temperature, water damage, and essentially, you know, reinforce, also giving a forklift the ability to lift this up if that would be too heavy. We can set these legs inwards a little bit, and that's this parameter right here. Okay, so let's go ahead and save that. So again, I'm going to call this bin 4545, and the software will save it here in a standard location. Don't change that. That's the location where all these pallets and customized boxes appear. And then when you use that drop down again and you go all the way to the bottom, you will find your brand new bin that you just created right here. So let's go ahead and select this. So we can see here 45, 45, 45. What happened to my 45 here, you might wonder? Well, remember right here, the little feet, the protective feet were 2 inches high. So that will increase my total height to 47. Okay. And so after specifying this bin, we can now hit the calculate button, and the software, it will still show me a pallet. That is just, don't worry about that. It is going to use the bin we just created. It's just for, progress indication. And here we can see now our results. So looking at this picture here, we can see our bin. It's a cut through, so we can see through it. We can see the little feet right here, and we have our three boxes. We can see here our area usage inside that box is 95%. And when we go to our solution details, we can see here the total number per load, the maximum we specified, the length, the width, and the height. So all these parameters. So if you want to force certain objects to show in a certain quantity, you can see here we have more of the blue ones, which was the first one, than the orange one here, which was the third one. You can go ahead and go back, and you can really start to go in here and play with these parameters. So you can say, hey, I really want 12 of this blue one and not any more. So then you essentially use the same value for your min and your max right there. Kind of defeats the purpose a little bit, but you can force it to really use the exact number of items, and then you can evaluate if it fits in that bin, and in our case it does, and we get about 40% of empty space, so not very efficient. And again, in solution details, you're going to be able to see that we have a total of 36 now inside that box. Another very important option, if let's go back and switch that again to 50 for number 1, to 50 for number 2, and 50 for number 3, and leave that minimum on 12. What I like to show you here as well is very important, the calculation settings right here. So this essentially tells the software how those primary boxes need to be positioned inside that bin. Okay, so we can see here that we are using the single pallet optimization calculation settings. And as far as the algorithm is concerned, the default was set to column algorithm. So that essentially will tell the guy in the warehouse to take these primary boxes and start stacking them in that bin in an upright column type scenario. Now, notice if we change that to a layer algorithm, the person in the warehouse essentially starts filling the bottom of that bin and then works his or her way up in that bin. So by changing that, let's see what happens. So remember, my minimum quantity was again 12 to 50, and now we are using a horizontal algorithm. And you can see that that had an impact, right? So here on the bottom, you can see that we have box number 3. So it started stacking 12 of those. Then it started stacking box number 2 in a horizontal layer, and then it continued with the blue ones. And because I allowed it to go above the minimum of 12, you can see that it filled the remaining space as well. Now I notice it didn't fill it very efficiently. Again, we're only at 85%. So let's see if we can increase that efficiency a little more. So again, in that calculation setting right here, we also have an option specifically for the layer algorithm to indicate whether or not we allow mixed stacking on top of one another. So if you activate that, that's actually going to decrease my efficiency. Right here, do not allow mixed layers. This is going to make sure that every layer is a unique product and you will not find a mix of different products. So again, it's going to decrease my efficiency. These two options here on the right-hand side, on the other hand, are going to increase my efficiency. So allowing the layer to maximize the spread, let's see again how that impacts my calculation. So with the 12 to 50, we can see here that now it went up a little bit, but still my minimum quantity is playing into this. So if I would increase that minimum to 24, 24, and 24, and maximum of 50, we can again calculate and see what that results. So as you can see, this is starting to look a little bit better, right? Area usage 100%, cube usage 77.4. So you see that by using this back button, going into the parameters of the individual SKUs, and also using the calculation settings and play around with these options right here, you can really increase the efficiency of your load. In a second use case, we're going to go back to the main screen. So we do that by using the back button. And going into predefined cape file that I used earlier. So I'm going to go to this test folder and load this display palette, club store, this time multiple items over multiple bins. And this time we're also going to use a regular corrugated shipping bin, again, as opposed to a pallet. Okay, so I went ahead and input a bunch of boxes. Keep in mind that instead of having to manually do that by hitting the add package and then specifying length, width, height, and quantity, and so on, you can also use our import from database capabilities, as well as our spreadsheets, allowing you to take information from these spreadsheets, and then by hitting this simple button right here, transferring that data into Cape Pack. So again, this might be an intermediate step. You might have another inventory or shipping software that can provide a spreadsheet for you. So that might be helpful, instead of having to manually do this. For this exercise, we made also a shape right here. So I already created one, but let's see, it's actually called Pallet 1. No, it's right here. It's called Bin 24, I believe. No, it's right here, Box 24. Right? So how did I create this? Well, again, go to the Make New Pallet box as opposed to bin this time, and you'll see the interface is very simple. This is essentially allowing you to enter length, width, height, and the weight of this box. So notice that there are no feet right here, and that's how the bin differs from the box. Now that we're here, let's have a quick look also at crate. So crate, for, let's say, fragile, let's say paintings or fragile items that need more protection, we could select a pallet base for that crate. Let's see, we use a 48 inch, 48, 45. So right here, you can see that a crate essentially has this pallet base, and then on top of that, we have a wooden structure where you can specify the length, the width, and the height, and the entire weight of that crate. Okay, so this is more for international shipping and fragile items like paintings. Very typical for that. So let's, in this case, just use our box. So a 24-inch shipping box. Come to think of it, that's not very big, but let's see how that goes, right? So back into packages, we can see here, just to give you an idea on quantity, we can see that we have a minimum and a maximum quantity specified here with the exact same quantity. So in other words, I want 3 of this first box, 5 of the second, 3, 2, and 10. Okay. What I've also done, if you double click, is I have assigned a color to each of these primaries by picking from here. So that way I can visually distinguish between these boxes. Also notice that I've activated the dimension length, width, and height, giving my software the biggest possibility to move it in the box. And this time we're in an order fulfillment column algorithm. So let's hit that button and curious to see what the result will be. Okay, so we notice here we have a total of 1 box. That's the first thing that catches my eye. So this tells me that the order that I'm trying to ship in this corrugated shipper is going to work. Okay, so let's go back and let's make one small change. And let's say, for example, right here, this blue one, let's say instead of quantity allowed 2, we have 6 of these. Okay, so that's the only change I made. We calculate again. We can see now that by changing that quantity of that primary from 2 to 6, we now can no longer ship this order with just one single shipper. We can have a look at the second shipper by going to the next button. And as you can see, super inefficient, right? We only are missing this one object right here. So the red one. And if we go back, remember the red one was the large one, and we had a quantity specified right there of 3. So you could say, you know, hey, my customer's okay with only receiving 2, or I'm going to wait for another order. But just keep in mind that, you know, this software really will give you an idea whether or not your order will fit in that shipping box or not. So again, now by reducing the red box from 3 to 2, I can see again that this fits now. So this now is a 24, 24, 24 box. So if I go back to that very first use case where we took this set of different boxes, we have now a 24 by 24 shipper. We know that these fit in there. Now, let's say we need to take this and put this on a pallet. That might be a use case. That, unfortunately, you cannot do in one go. So if I go back here, you can see the reason for that is that we essentially replaced this second tab, which was the pallet tab, by a box. And so what we're essentially wanting now is to have this tab, which is my truck, to become the pallet. But that simply is not possible. So you would need to do this. There's a little workaround though. So you would need to do this in 2 steps. All right. So the first step, what I just showed you, figuring out, you know, in this box, is it going to fit? After we do this exercise, we know it's going to fit because I see there's only one shipper required for that. And I know the dimensions of that shipper. With that information, we go back to the main screen and we use our pallet group where we can then take that shipper and put that on a pallet. And so that's a very standard exercise where you just go and specify your 24, 24, 24. That's our shipper. Again, the ability here to rotate it or not. In this case, since it's a perfect cube, it doesn't really matter. So I'm going to keep it nice and upright. specifying the weight, the net weight, and the gross weight of this box, and then picking my pallet, right? So if I pick a little bit of a larger pallet here, like an inland container 6042, we can then hit that calculate button, and we can see then our two shippers with all the products inside on there, right? Again, not the most efficient way here, I can see. A couple of things you could do here is on the pallet, you can set the height. So again, depending on your shipping environment right here, we can increase that. And we can also kind of play a little bit with the overhang. So if we would say, hey, I'm allowing a 3-inch overhang and a higher stacking, if we do that, we can see now that we can fit 2, 4, 8 of these shippers onto a pallet. So two-step process, but nevertheless possible. Also, just for completeness sake, this exercise that we performed, you can also do in TruckFill. So TruckFill is a separate program from CapePack, but this the very same idea goes here, where you can replace your truck actually by a bin or a shipper that you create. So here, for example, I have a 96-inch very heavy triple wall corrugate shipper. And essentially I replace my truck with that shipper, then hit that calculate button, and I can see here how these items fit in here. And they fit in here perfectly with lots of room to spare, as we can see, so not very efficient. And the reason for that, again, is ordered quantity, right? So right here, ordered quantity 50, 55, 80, and then we have our loading rules and our calculation settings that we can use to optimize that load a little further. So also 2 steps. So once you've created that, you will then have to come into CapePack to finish that exercise with the pallet group to address that specific use case. So I hope that was useful, this Cape overview here with the specific use case. Again, you can watch this YouTube video on my channel. Just search for Bart Meerschaert, and you will find the specific channel. So if you're in Bart Meerschaert in YouTube, or you could probably do ESCO, you can see here this use case listed right here. So with that, we're going to go ahead and pause the recording and open it up for any questions. Let's stop this.